Hey everyone, my name is Gayatri. I'm the Director of Consumer Innovations at Dimagi, where I help to build our chatbot portfolio. So it's the Global Digital Health Forum in 2022, and the theme of this year is Equitable Digital Health Innovation. When we think about equity in digital health, we might all be thinking of different things. When I think about equity in digital health, lately I think about one person in particular who I met during the pandemic on an online training. Jyoti is her name. She's a community health worker in Bihar, in India. And somewhere into the training, she and I diverged. And we got talking about a more fun topic, how Jyoti uses a smartphone, what she likes to look up, and what games she likes to play. Makeup tutorials, Jyoti told me, are what she likes to watch on YouTube, but she joked that she doesn't get nearly enough time for it. Her husband owns the one smartphone in their household, which he takes every morning to the family's farm. And in the evenings, when their husbands are home from work and they finish up their housework, Jyoti and her friends, they sit together outside their homes, watching videos and playing games. And those are the few moments in the day they can steal away to use a smartphone in relative privacy. Now, among her friends, Jyoti is possibly the only one who is formally employed, making her something of an outlier in her community. But her access to a smartphone mirrors that of many women in India. So when it comes to smartphone ownership and usage, it turns out that despite the upward mobility afforded by her job, Jyoti is not an outlier at all. And actually, of the two of us Indian women, Jyoti and I'm the outlier with my smartphone and laptop and good internet connection. So at this point in the conversation, I was a bit embarrassed because before this conversation, during the pandemic, I had spent a couple of years with my colleagues making chatbots for women just like Jyoti, chatbots for family planning, financial empowerment, and a range of topics. And in making some of these chatbots, I hadn't really paused to consider whether the women I was trying to reach could access these chatbots or whether they would be able to use the chatbots. In particular, I hadn't considered how much time someone like Jyoti would have to use a smartphone every day, how comfortable she might be navigating a smartphone, and how these factors might impact what she actually ultimately spends time on when using mobile internet. And because I didn't consider these factors, I didn't incorporate them into the design of these chatbots. So, why didn't I consider these factors? I've been reflecting on it. And I think, on the one hand, there is something about the ability of technology available today, in particular, no code chatbot platforms, that makes it possible to launch chatbots on Facebook and WhatsApp rapidly. And it's cool and it's enticing. And you feel like you can reach all these thousands of people, women in lower and middle income countries, with just a few clicks. But even aside from the technology, it also wasn't necessarily in my interest to pause and wonder whether I was designing these chatbots for real women like Jyoti, women in who in reality may not have much access to a smartphone. And that's because in our sector for chatbots, it can sometimes feel like we are incentivized to foretell the best case scenario. So I'll make the best chatbot for family planning and LMICs. And over time, more women will get access to a smartphone, and there'll be thousands of users and lots of clients and revenue and impact. But if I take that as business as usual, if I take this bright vision of the future as license to ignore Jyoti's reality today, then I'm kind of fooling myself. I'm ignoring the data in front of me, which is that Jyoti uses a smartphone a lot less than her husband might do. So here I am with limited context of Jyoti's life, certainly no experience living it. Here I am designing digital health solutions for women just like Jyoti and talking about it to all of you at JDHF. That seems odd, right? Somewhat inequitable. The truth is, I don't know the reality of Jyoti's life, and I might never know. But if I run a chatbot on Facebook for men and women in India and I get this result, I have the data. I need to know that the chatbots I'm making for women like Jyoti are not going to reach her unless I try and do more. So, what can I do to improve access to chatbots for women like Jyoti? Or rather, what can all of us do to expand the use of chatbots for women in LMICs? Three things to start with. First, we could better understand our audience. So here's an example of Poshandidi, Dimagi's first ever chatbot that was developed for mothers in Madhya Pradesh. In designing and testing Poshandidi, the Dimagi team identified how many users had their own phone versus a shared household phone, what apps target users most likely to use, and what time of day they were most likely to use the chatbot or other applications on the phone. And all of these inputs went to designing and refining Poshandidi, which translated into chatbot usage. So almost 50% of users returned to talk to Poshandidi in at least 5 distinct user sessions. The second thing we could do is design not just for women, but other actors in their lives who are the gatekeepers of their access to phones. So the data tells us that in several countries, a lack of family approval is a major barrier preventing women from adopting mobile internet. So if we're designing chatbots for someone like Jyoti, who does not get much time to use a smartphone, could we come up with chatbot techniques that engage both Jyoti and her husband at the same time to expand the reach of the chatbot to Jyoti as much as we can? As an example, Dimagi made a game-based chatbot called Newlyweds based on the American TV show. So when using the chatbot, both partners independently add in their responses to questions the chatbot poses. For example, what their favorite music or food or TV show might be. And then each partner guesses what the other partner prefers and wins points when they get the answer right. And baked into these fun questions are more serious questions too, like when each partner would prefer to have a child. So with this kind of chatbot, we are attempting to both convey counseling points, for example, on family planning, and drive interpartner communication, and to do so in a way that enables women to participate equally in the use of the chatbot. And finally, when deploying chatbots to women who have some level of access to a smartphone, we could invest in offline onboarding. So if a lack of literacy and digital skills is one of the top barriers preventing women from using mobile internet, could we use offline onboarding to address that barrier? So when onboarding users onto Poshandidi, the Dimagi team spent time with each individual user, showing them how to use different features of the chatbot, how to type in questions or select responses. And as a result, despite the initial lack of familiarity with using smartphones, which was the case for many of the users, the quality of their engagement with the chatbot eventually was strong, with users providing in-depth feedback about what they did or did not enjoy about using the chatbot. So at Dimagi, for each future chatbot we make, we want to hold ourselves accountable. We want to make sure that we are continuously realistic about who gets to access each chatbot and to make sure that we are constantly trying to expand that access. And we hope you'll join us. Thanks for watching.